Welcome to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast. I'm joined again by Liam O'Brien. We're going to focus in on the European Rugby Champions Cup, primarily. Again, reviewing the four provinces' performance. Relatively good weekend, by all accounts. Leinster thumped Montpellier for 89 points. Ulster Rugby secured a bonus point win at Northants to effectively qualify as the top two seed. Connacht were pipped right at the end by Leicester Tigers, and Munster left it very, very late to beat the Cast side on Friday night. Liam, how are things?
Oh, great, man. Great. Yeah. I'm chuffed with that win on Friday night, I have to say. We definitely left it late, but at the same time, we did deserve it over the course of the 80 minutes. We played pretty much all the rugby. At least we tried, you know. I mean, Crowley, really nice game from him. Showed a bit of quality, and of course our pack, and in particular our back row, as per usual, got those crucial line out steals, those turnovers to give us that momentum, which meant we were still there on the 78 minutes to get the try. Yeah,
absolutely. We talked about this at length last week. We'd predicted it, I think, to the script. Pretty much an arm wrestle, a very close encounter. 13-16 at the end for Munster. They must have followed the podcast last week, Liam, but it was real kind of arm wrestle, tactical kicking, very kind of conservative game plan off Cast. Now, the team selection, if you compared their team selection from the Pro 14 to last week against Munster, was almost unrecognisable. Not a lot of French squad players in, but what they didn't have and experienced, they certainly made up for work rate and determination, and they really did grow into the game, didn't they? Particularly in that opening quarter, they did really set a platform for Crockett and also Ben Botica to start testing our defence.
Well, yeah, they did, and I mean, I suppose even though from the kickoff it was we kind of fluffed the ball as well, like so. A lot of it was down to ourselves too. Haley again under the high ball. So that's how they got a platform in that first, I suppose, 20 minutes in particular, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I've notes here, and they're very precious in terms of line breaks or genuine quality in that open period. But Ben Botica's kick was a superb kick in behind to set up the opening score for the Cast's full back. I think, maybe a few question marks about defensive backfield positioning of Munster. I don't know what your thoughts were on the try, Darling.
Yeah, well, look, I suppose, I mean, it was kind of like between Barron and Earlsey, wasn't it there, Barron particularly seemed ponderous for that. But Earls still, could have done better as well, for sure, yeah.
And exactly, and Murray was in the line as well. Murray's typically in the backfield as well, kind of protecting that sort of scenario. So I think it was brilliant of Ben Botica just to realise the space, realise that Murray was on the outside doing a defensive shift. I thought it was a good kick, in fairness. And in fairness to Barron, particularly with a full back, hooker full back race, only going to be one winner. And I think Earls was, asking a little bit too much there. And 7-0, I mean, we're kind of literally, if we had any notions that this would be an easy night in Cast, certainly were dispelled on that. But Munster, in fairness, started to regroup a little bit. And Barron had come on at this stage for Scannell, who was out pretty early, I mean, with the shoulder hit, and wish him well. But we did start to kind of gain momentum a little bit here, Liam, and we did create a penalty, and Jack Crowley slotted a nice penalty to open our account.
Yeah, absolutely. And his kicks, I mean, they were fairly straightforward in terms of on the post, but there was some good length to them, So yeah, I was impressed with his kicking, and also just his general creativity out of hand was quite good as well. And I suppose we were talking about kicks. Kicks were key during the game, and I suppose that kick from Scannell really opened up I think that almost opened up the game for Munster, really got us motoring at that stage.
Indeed. Now, in fairness to Cast, They defended very resolutely. We had our front row really kind of take ball to hand. I mean, Kilcoyne, I think there was endless possessions there, and he was being driven back more than once. And it did need something a little bit different, a bit of variety in the play. And in fairness to Scannell, that crossfield kick to Earls to release Mike Haley, as you say, it was a very significant moment. It kind of even released a bit of tension off the Munster guys in terms of their attacking width, trying to kind of set something up. I mean, it was a very good, incisive line break, as you said, Ling.
Yeah, and again, I suppose then the key thing is that when they came back to Crowley and another kind of crossfield kick to Conway, but kind of a bit behind him, almost not like that he could run onto. That was a bit of a chance, I guess, as well,
Well, I did like the idea. I did like the idea from Rory Scannell and also for Crowley as well, really to extend the field defensively for Cass, because they were very, very tight defensively. They're really predicting our one-out runners an awful lot, and we needed to kind of change the variety and make them think a little bit in terms of their defense. Their defensive license speed, I thought, was quite superb throughout the game, Cass, for such big physical players. Their conditioning never waned during the game, really. And as you say yourself, the Crowley kick was slightly behind Conway, a little bit, maybe 5-10 meters ahead. I think we could have been seeing kind of try time there in terms of momentum and support runners and stuff like that from Munster. But 7-3 at half time. I mean, the other kind of significant probably passage of play was the Fijian winger, Nkosi.
Oh my God, yeah.
I felt so sorry for Conor Murray trying to put an arm
Conway was
down those three from.
Conway was full on,
Yeah, it was kind of like I was kind of hearting him out kind of stage there when I saw him. He was just barreling through tackles and making a good 45 meter gain. And to be fair to Munster, they did recover very well defensively. And I think you alluded to it at the start podcast. We shouldn't forget the contributions of Peter O'Mahony, particularly in that first 30 minutes. I thought he was absolutely outstanding in terms of his disruption of line out, in terms of kind of mauls, stuff like that defensively. He was so on point and one vital turnover ball for Munster when we needed it.
Yeah, and at the end of the half as well, a nice line out steal as well. And again, maybe a chance went to begging there as well, Coombs with the offload. Yeah.
Exactly. And I suppose it would be remiss as well. I suppose we might mention it a little bit in the second half, but we did have prime tacking position as well. 5 meters out from the cast line, line-out malfunction here with Farrell the front of the line-out. With Barron there, it was kind of a malfunction from a line-out unit, like a squandered opportunity. Really, at that time, could have been a significant confidence boost for Munster and maybe have set Cass back a bit in terms of their morale going into the second half.
Yeah, and again, I mean, you don't want to be harsh on someone, but I mean, the line out to me, it was like Barron obviously went off, but up to that stage he wasn't that effective. And then you're looking at maybe Fineen Wycherley as well in terms of his control of the line out, wasn't effective on the night as well.
Exactly. Cass had probed that in Thomond Park a few weeks prior, and they continued to go with that policy. They were not afraid to commit guys to challenge the line out. Particularly, maybe they sensed maybe kind of a vulnerability there within Munster. But again, 7-3 at half time. But then Munster had responded quite brilliantly, I thought, in the first 10 minutes, really kind of set a platform.
Conway, remember, Conway's kick that granted went out dead, but that was a real chance, I thought. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Again, that attacking width that we'd asked for last week seemed full effect. Kick a little bit more accurate.
But it's kicking intelligently. That's what it is like.
Exactly. Yeah, it's and justifies the means, particularly if you're hitting a brick wall in the tight exchanges. You have to kind of think outside the box. And in fairness to Conway, he was very unlucky. And I mean, we tacked over a few penalty regulation. Now Crowley stepped up, unerring, I thought, in terms of them, and we suddenly were 9-7 up.
That first 10 minutes of the second half, we were really on point. I think it was top notch.
Absolutely.
I think we deserved the whatever 9-7, but again, we kind of went into ourselves after that, for the next 15-20 minutes after that.
Yeah, it did suddenly turn into a bit of a kicking battle, and I wouldn't have blamed anyone to maybe have switched off between minutes 50 to 65, really, because it was very much kicking table tennis style. Haley saw an amount of ball, good touch finders. Thought Rory Crockett, 9 for Cass, was really controlling tempo. Same with Ben Boddicker as well. And again, all Cass were looking for was looking for that error, looking for that unforced error from Munster. They got it, and they set up 2 penalties, and Ben Boddicker started them over pretty convincingly.
Yeah, like I thought, 39, even though it's only 39, it's actually in the context of the game was just huge. Like absolutely going into the last 12 minutes, that was huge. Because even we eke out a penalty and we're still a point behind.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think you have to call out Jack Crowley's performance as well. One of them was kind of an unforced kind of knock on that led to a penalty subsequently to that. But I thought composure from the guys to literally take that in their stride and continue to play the rugby. And by this stage, we'd emptied the bench at that stage. I thought the likes of John Hodnett coming on made a huge difference just in terms of his mobility, his breakdown work. No slight on Jack O'Donoghue here, but I just felt going into the back row, I thought to me was a little bit the mobility factor, getting in there quickly, clearing ruck ball. I think Hodnett is such a technician at that. And his significant line break as well was a real kind of turning point as well in the game when we needed someone really to step up. He made absolute yards setting up the penalty for decisive game winning score. I don't know what your thoughts there in terms of game winning score was, Liam, from Gavin Coombs.
Oh, from Gavin Coombs. Oh no, just go back to Hodnett. Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, the guy really, his breakdown work is incredible, and I suppose that's been said before. But in terms of the kick to the corner, I mean, we kicked to the corner then after that. Again, I mean, it's kind of a tough decision to try and make. Should we have taken the points? We still had plenty of time at that stage getting our penalty. And then you go and you lose the line out. But then of course Tyburn, another crucial turnover. And in terms of the try itself, this is hilarious. I think it should be kind of like a set move. as in your man, obviously, he took the ball and he placed it back. We didn't mean to, but it was it kind of gave Coombs the opportunity to go for the line, where a lot of the other cast guys were kind of focusing on the scrum half. Yeah.
Significantly, and Casey had arrived on the scene for Murray and again provided that zip past it. In fairness to Murray, I thought he was solid. I've heard critiques in social media about Murray's performance, that Murray was solid given the circumstances, but Casey did provide a little bit more pace in and around the fringes as well. So yeah, and in fairness to Gavin Coombs as well, the strength and power to power his way over was superb. And I mean, it's such a vital score, right at the end, like again, cast very similar to the Stade Francais game the week before, camped on their own line, and I think they probably thought history is going to repeat itself, that they'd keep their defensive sets going and they would ultimately get a breakdown. But I think Gavin Coombs, ingenuity just to really spot that gap, particularly around the fringes, was very pivotal, and it was a great conversion as well from Jack Crowley to make it 16-13, really, to be fair. But I'd say going back to that botched line-out again, very similar line-out call, Farrell at the front, never really kind of deviated in terms of, looking to win primary possession here, it seemed.
And I also cast their defensive work, their defensive maul. I mean, there was also a likelihood at that point that they would actually disrupt it. Exactly.
Yeah, it was. So maybe kind of food for thought there for Graham Rowntree and the Munster pack, I suppose, head of Wasps. But in fairness, any trip to France, I don't care, regardless of the team that you're playing. I mean, Cast have shown this year top 3 in Pro 14 for a reason. Their squad depth has been huge. You can see that with their first team performances, that their squad on a par has given us problems, particularly from a tactical kind of arm wrestle perspective. And I think it's a key win for Munster, secured our ticket into the last 16. and we can be only pleased by that result, given other results that went on last weekend.
Yeah, but also you just keep in mind that they are a consistent top 6 team in the top 14. I mean, they are always qualifying for Europe, so maybe they don't get their respect that they deserve as well. But yeah, and in terms of Gavin Coombs, he was the only guy you wanted to see there, to be honest about it, at the end, in terms of if any other players would have had the power to score that try, that's what you wanted at the end.
And there was a subtle gain line break as well from Hodnett. He spotted a little gap, got another meter just before that, which was quite significant. Really put Cass on their toes, because I think I thought they thought maybe they'd quelled Hodnett for a little bit, but I think that little initial second line break was pretty huge in the context of Casey then setting up for Coombs as well. Kind of reduced the try line for him, and you're not going to stop a guy of that physicality from that range, which was a key game. And to be fair to Munster, I've heard the critique again in terms of attacking platform, Baron Jackman to a rate completely as rugby analyst goes on the Indo yesterday on the offensive in terms of game plan. At least Munster tried to create some attacking width. We did see unforced errors in terms of balls being dropped, but at least there was a little bit more of an improvement in terms of supporting lines. I do recall, was it the Farrell KC one in the second half that could have stuck, stuff like that. So at least we could see, and particularly the Scannell Crowley kicks as well, trying to vary it up, try to kind of get our back three involved. So I'll take the winning Cass any day of the week. Regardless.
And go back to the I mean we had advantage. We had a penalty advantage for that Farrell Casey. And that really that a try that's time, and the match was pretty much over. I think.
I don't think we can complain from a Munster's perspective. 3 from 3 in here. Literally, if you consider the pool standings at the moment, we're currently in third. We've booked our place in the last 16, and we're not looking for an anxious result here over the weekend. So maybe we'll move on here, Liam. We've not a lot to get into, but next we'll maybe go in chronological order. Sports Ground Galway, one of probably the ties of the round, really, in terms of excitement for the neutral. Connacht 28-10 up, 60 minutes gone. Played some scintillating rugby after a very, very tricky start against Leicester Tigers.
Yeah, they conceded the first try, didn't they, in 2 minutes? Yeah,
exactly. That image of the Leicester pack just literally marauding on them all, it didn't look good for Connacht. But in fairness, a dry day here in Galway, and Connacht really did showcase their attacking intent, particularly thereafter until minute 58. Thought they were simply outstanding in terms of their attacking line breaks. Marmion, I thought, had another superb game. Keane, Prendergast, Bundy Aki for the Prendergast, superb offload. It did look perfectly poised for Connacht at 28-10 just to close it out. I don't know, Liam, what are your feelings on it in terms of the last 20 minutes? Where did it all go wrong for Connacht rugby?
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you play too much rugby, don't you? Yeah, and you're told just to kind of, slow the game down a bit and kick as far as you can. Simple as that. No, in fairness to the Tigers pack, and looking back over Gallagher Premiership fixtures, and I was alluded to on the BT Sports commentary, Leicester Tigers, particularly in that second half, have won an awful lot of games in the Gallagher Premiership, coming from behind, winning tight contests. So from a physicality perspective, they were going to bring it for the full 80 minutes. Why wouldn't you expect it from Steve Borwick, coach side? Just the struggles for Connacht really from the front five really did kind of start to emerge, I'd say, after about a minute. Like, the first quarter was a bit of a tricky point, but particularly going into that fourth quarter, Leicester Tigers pack really did assert dominance again. I thought they won collisions pretty much consistently, and Connacht were scrambling, and I maybe thought they were gassing out a little bit with about 15-20 minutes left, and some superb tries for Leicester Tigers, but it just all conspired for Connacht, didn't it? But even as I said, like when you're there with 3-4 minutes to go, in particular, you just get the ball off the park, don't you? You really do.
Yeah, it's, you're having to play a percentage game then at that stage. Would have liked to seen a little bit more game management from 9 and 10 here, really kind of controlling things. The kick game wasn't good, particularly setting up good field position, particularly likes of Freddie Burns. And I thought the bench as well. The bench impact from Leicester was so significant. Liam, I just didn't think Connacht bench really did fire a shot in that last 25, 30 minutes, which I think should be a worry for Andy Friend and coaching staff. That the first team players that started gave their all, but they were, the effort that they'd put in. Obviously, they needed to be replaced a bit earlier, and the scrum literally was in 6s and 7s by the end. It was giving field position perfectly for Leicester. But then, and their pack platform was superb. And as you say yourself, Liam, it all kind of culminated right on 80 minutes. I just thought Connacht defensively, far too tight, defensively, far too passive. I thought one or two of them looked absolutely gassed, even subs bench-wise. Ball goes out, and unfortunately for Tiernan O'Halloran, he scores 2 tries. Again,
has that always been an issue with Tiernan O'Halloran, at the same time,
it needs to be stopped at source.
He will let it up at the end, yeah.
So Mackie has to be stopped at source. It's no good then waiting for a second defender to come and save the day, because, John Porch makes a valiant attempt. You're not going to stop a guy of that size and physicality going over the line. It was very close. I know there was a few Twitter photographs. He's clearly touched down.
It's clearly a try.
Sure. But I think it's a useful lesson here for Connacht, to keep, particularly when they have an advantage, how to basically close out games.
I think we kind of alluded to maybe, like, if that was Munster with a few minutes to go, definitely they would have the smarts, I think it's fair to say, to close out a game like that.
Yeah, do you feel there was a bit of naivety there in Connacht?
For sure, there has. It's still, relatively new for them, the Champions Cup rugby, that experience, the game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it's considering the performance, particularly the start. I think video analysis will be a mixed bag. You have to embrace what went on from minute 15 up until the 49th, 50th minute here. Some of the tries were nothing short of sensational from Connacht, but again, I think just the squad depth as well here. Liam got a little bit exposed, particularly in your front row. Particularly the impact coming off the bench, it's huge.
There's a big drop, isn't there? Yeah.
There is, particularly when you're up, particularly when you have a pack-orientated side like Leicester Tigers coming to town, who are literally going to go to town on you if you're a bit vulnerable, particularly front five, particularly coming into that third, fourth quarter. They've literally won games domestically, as I've said, based off those performances. The role of the bench is huge. And I think that's, from a Connacht perspective, maybe some kind of reflection to kind of see how can they improve that, coming off the bench. I know Deland came on, had a decent enough game, but then it's kind of literally your front row. It started, there was problems there throughout, but definitely the bench, when it was cleared, you could definitely see a significant performance drop. And, going to Stade Francais, and we'll preview it in a while, in Paris, I think it'll be more to do with a mental regroup than actually a physical regroup for Connacht, just given how the last quarter has gone. It's a devastating quarter. Dropping an 18-point lead like that is, at home, it's a pretty significant barrier to basically cross this week.
Yeah. I mean, they'll have to do plenty of video analysis for sure. And Stade are not going to be, even with a mixture of kind of senior and new players, are still going to put up a really tough game at home for Connacht.
Exactly. And Stade still have an outside chance of getting into the playoffs as well. You can see Stade throwing first, second line players in here, throwing a ball around with no pressure, seeing how the result goes. Connacht are the team here that need to get a result. And, Stade could be a kind of a dangerous outfit in that perspective, where there's nothing expected of them, that there is pressure within the group to produce a performance. So I think that's a tricky game, and we can talk about that in due course, Liam, in our preview of those games in round 4. Right, we're just going to give this 90 seconds, because that Leinster Rugby Montpellier game, Liam, I thought it was just an absolute complete disgrace from start to finish from Montpellier. Their performance was a complete and utter embarrassment to the European Rugby Champions Cup, and I hope to God that they don't qualify for the last 16 of this competition. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, absolute disgrace is all I can say. But also, I mean, there's implications for Leinster racking up such a huge score as well for the other teams. In terms of points difference, we'll come into it now for placings. Montpellier were just they totally brought the whole European Cup into disrepute for sure. Yeah,
I'd fully agree. Now, all credit to Leinster. I mean, the layoff, the pandemic, they've had to contend with that. But from minute one, they were just so superior. I mean, there's pace. We've alluded to last week in this podcast on the way that they clear out rucks. There was no contest to break them. Van der Fleer and Conan just were absolutely immense throughout. So when you have that platform, you could see Leinster ball carriers having 2 or 3 support runners at any given time. Montpellier were just not at the races, I'm afraid. 89 points was just, I think it was just a damning indictment of the selection in the first place from Montpellier. I just don't know where they go from here. And I think probably ERC probably will have a bit of a word with Montpellier, I would say. I'd say TV organisers and TV kind of media outlets definitely showing that game. We're probably asking a few questions there after 20-25 minutes.
We had Bordeaux before, Mark. Pretty much exactly the same situation. They lost like 92 points or something, that they conceded to Leinster. And I don't think they ever were penalised for anything really as such.
No, but it's just the way this pandemic has kind of emerged. We've had, and Leinster did raise it again in terms of an appeal, in terms of that walkover and the circumstances to it. And they'll definitely follow up on that given this performance. Anyway, I just thought it was just a low point for this competition. They didn't need any more low points or negatives kind of going into the end of this round robin. But yeah, it was just, and in fairness to Leinster, they get their bonus point. Their points differential is hitting the roof here in terms of, I think they're plus 78 at the moment, which is incredible, or 79 at the moment. And I think they're well primed for second leg at home. But I think it's just left a bit of a sour taste in the mouth. And I think any fans that were in the RDS, pleased to see the tries flow in. But, you're expecting a little bit more competitiveness from a French side coming over. So we'll kind of draw the line under that. It just wasn't an event, I'm afraid. So then we kind of get to Ulster. We'd kind of talked last week about Ulster, a great opportunity for them to really galvanise, consolidate and secure their playoff berth as potential top seeds, and mission accomplished, Liam.
Yeah, I mean, I think we even tipped them last week to get the 4-try bonus and to top the group. And yeah, they had 3 tries in the first half, and they were full value for that. Balakoum looks class. Lowry is just pure X factor. And Doak, really good support lines, good decision making as well.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more there, Liam. I think it was a fine performance from Ulster. I think we should be very excited about the backfield options that they do have in Ulster, these young guys. And the one quote that I heard was Robert Balakoum mentioned was they play what's in front of them. Coaches basically allow them to play what's there. They'll learn from their mistakes. They'll absorb whatever is coaching advice, which I think is timely, for these guys. The massive potential. The offloading, I thought Balakoum definitely for the opening try was exquisite. His power, his identification of space in the corner was superb. And then his awareness then to set Nathan Doak away for the try, nothing short and sensational. And I think Lowry as well could be an outside bet for that Ireland squad as well. I think these guys are playing Hume. They played superb rugby yesterday in terms of their speed. Their line speed was superb. Their offloading. Northampton really didn't. They had some great phases of play. I thought Liam, it was an enjoyable game from start to finish because Northampton did contribute immensely to a really wide open game, the way it should be played. But again, Ulster really impressive with ball in hand.
Yeah, I mean Northampton had Courtney Laws was pretty good. Rory Hutchinson as well impressed me. But Ulster in attacking sense, they really have a very varied game. And out wide, they can cause you real damage.
Oh, massive damage. It's and you've seen its full effect there. But again, they're on 14 points at the moment here, Liam, and if they can get a win against ASM Clermont Auvergne this weekend coming, I mean, geez, it sets himself up beautifully. There's at least minimum of a top 2 place there in terms of getting into last 16, second leg home tie, crucial, and then literally getting an extended home run, particularly when you get to the single knockout phases here, whether that's quarterfinal, semi-final. Liam, they're superbly set up here to go fairly long into this competition.
Well, yeah. I mean, obviously, it means that they are away. They're away first, and then are home in the round 16, and in the quarterfinal they're at home. So yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're potential semi-finalists, and if they go on a run, absolutely. I mean, they have the players to beat any team.
Absolutely. No, it's particularly home field advantage, particularly in Kingspan or Ravenhill. It's just an absolute fortress, particularly on European Cup nights. And you wouldn't back against them going very deep, and particularly that squad as well really does excite me, particularly particularly the halfback pairing. Burns, who we did kind of criticise last week, actually had a great game in Northampton as well. I thought he was pretty decent.
And to be fair, I mean, say Rory Best made a good point. Actually, he said like that he's much maligned, Burns, but he's part. That's he plays the football, that's needed to get the backline going.
Absolutely, no, it's just like Rory would know best there. Inside track with the Ulster squad for so many years. But I mean, look, mission accomplished for Ulster. Now, granted, Hutchinson, who was, as you said, Liam, very, very prominent in his ball carrying and creating anything that was good for Northampton Saints attacking was, he did cross over with about 40 seconds left. So there was a little bit of I wouldn't say nervy moments, but it was kind of more of a kind of an anxious closing moments that should have been the case. But again, a bonus point in Franklin's Gardens, it kind of cements their status here. And, again, another win, 4 from 4 would be absolutely superb return.
And can I also just say one thing about Madigan's brain fart moment?
You can indeed.
It could, to be fair, it could have worked out quite well, right? But he's tap and look, and then you have to score there. And he went probably right when he could have went a bit left, and that would have been it probably. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I think video analysis would have been a perler on that one today somehow. We're recording this on Monday, 17th of January here, just for everyone. But yeah, I think for Madigan, I think he could be kind of looking down a little bit on the video analysis on that one. But again, didn't cost him in terms of that. So a good 24-20 win for the Ulstermen. So yeah, we kind of leave the kind of round 3 and maybe kind of look at kind of the playoff picture as it kind of is unfolding right now. If I can get this up here. So in Pool A at the moment, just for everyone, Ulster currently first seeds right now in Pool A, 14 points. Second, Racing 92, 14 points. La Rochelle currently on 11 points. Leinster, 4th place currently at 10 points. 5th, Exeter. 6th, Sale with 7. Clermont Auvergne 7, and Glasgow Warriors currently 5th, tied with the team that I don't want to get in. Apologies for any Montpellier fans listening to the podcast, but they're currently on 5 points as well. On Pool B, it's Harlequins, Leicester, Munster, Bristol, top 4, and then Bordeaux, Vaglis, Connacht at 6th, Toulouse, and Wasps. Maybe we can mention the Wasps game here, Liam. I think that's probably the standout result from round 3 was Wasps' 30-22 win with 14 players against the reigning champions Toulouse.
Yeah, incredible. They played some absolutely incredible rugby, and following on from their win against the Leicester Tigers, they are now an informed team coming to Thomond Park, and they'll be coming to win. There's no doubt about it, and capable of doing it.
It's a very spicy fixture, just given that result. And given the circumstances of this result, when Umanga sent off for the head challenge on Dupont, you had Chris Busby and McNeese, the TMO. Correct decision, my opinion. It looked like an upward kind of slope for the Wasps to negotiate, but I thought their pack here, Liam, was absolutely phenomenal. The work rate, the desire, the determination to win the gain line, win the platform was superb. I thought Barbary, Shields, Willis, back row, Amenciad, Cardle, Gaskell, Martinez, Cruz, Allo. It was a phenomenal pack performance, and I think Munster have been forewarned.
Yeah, and like a lot of those tries were real close-in efforts by the back row. Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly, and looking at Jimmy Goppert there as well, playing superb rugby at 12. Got a very exciting backline as well, a few youngsters, but again, to a man, once they went down to 14 players, they looked so galvanised. And we kind of mentioned off air that wasn't the Wasps team that we'd seen against Munster on round one. Particularly, I don't care who you are, if you have 6 first teamers scratched on the morning of a game, you're going to absolutely struggle, and so proved. I think this Wasps performance in Thomond Park will be significantly different. I think Munster are going to have to progressively improve, particularly the attacking side of their play, to really get a result here.
Yeah, no, I absolutely. I think it's a game it's up in the air. But we have also game on game incrementally improved in the last month. So yeah, I mean, if we vary our game more, we can take it to another level as well. Absolutely.
Exactly, and I think these CAS games really do those kind of marquee performances. I know we've gotten 8 points from those 2 games. It does galvanise the side. These are hard physical battles that have been won here by Munster, particularly the round 2 and 3 with CAS. CAS have not given anything lightly to Munster Rugby on either of these fixtures. It has been very attritional, very tactical in terms of the kicking game, that sort of thing is going to come into play, particularly when we get to knockout rounds. I think, in fairness to Munster, they look primed for a performance here, I would think. We mentioned about Chris Farrell, we saw shades of it with some lovely line breaks on Friday night. I still think there's definitely an awful lot more in that Munster attacking line and mindset, really. And I think it all looks set for a cracking game on Sunday at Thomond Park, and with the minimal crowd in, I think it'll be a great atmosphere there.
Yeah, and as per usual, we have to front up, particularly the front row and get them all going and drive on from there.
Exactly, and it'll be interesting. I would imagine if Niall Scannell can't make it, Dermot Barron will be probably slotting in. Probably might be seeing an appearance for Scott Buckley as well after his Wasp heroics on round 1, which will be good to see as well. But again, hopefully Niall is recovering from the shoulder injury, because it looked like a nasty enough knock there early against Cast. But and again, we didn't allude to it with Crowley as well. It was such a learning curve, because typical French side at home, they identified Crowley and went for him as well in terms of the physicality. They didn't spare him. And in fairness to Crowley and the rest of the Munster players, they really did stand up, which is great. So, Liam, crystal ball time again. We weren't too bad, I think, in the predictions last week for round 3.
Yeah, I think we got pretty much most right.
I think our Wasps colleagues kind of threw us for a loop if anyone had our kind of trifecta bit going there. But let's kind of go through these, Liam, very quickly. Sure. So on Friday night on round 3, there's one game on tap here. This is at the Stoop in London. Harlequins facing our good friends Cast. How do you see that one going?
At this stage, I suppose you'd have to say with Cask pretty much out of as well, and Quins flying. Bonus point win for the Quins?
I'd probably go along with that. I think, again, with Quins, they're providing an awful lot of excitement on their rugby, and all credit to Cardiff Blues last week, I thought. Again, another progressive, nice performance from them. We're very unlucky, I thought, but again, I think Quins, just the magnitude of the game here, they could really kind of consolidate in terms of a top 2 seed here on that pool. So yeah, and I think Cast, I think you could go on and definitely see a team selection of second and third string. You know, they're just going to play out the fixture. Nothing of magnitude there for them. They may surprise me and put a few frontliners in, but I'd be very surprised given Pro 14 coming up. Then Saturday, looming. Toulouse maybe under a little bit of pressure here to get a result against Cardiff Blues, who are progressing.
Yeah, Cardiff Blues, as you said, like they really put it up to Quins in the last round there. Toulouse, I suppose you would always fancy them at home against anyone, wouldn't you? Really?
Yeah, I'm going for a home win here, just purely because that result against Wasps will have focused minds, particularly into Toulouse camp. I think the manner of it, the manner that they were beaten, particularly when Wasps went down to 14 players, will not have sat well with their fan base and certainly not with the club as a whole. So I think there is a bit riding on this. They're currently on 7 points at the moment. They definitely need a result. So I will go for that. Now, hopefully Cardiff Blues do produce a good performance because they're, as we're well aware, Liam, going to Cardiff. They play a lovely, expansive style of rugby, and if it does become a little bit open, a little bit fractured, and Toulouse are not accurate, Cardiff, they can hang in there for 40, 50 minutes. This could get very interesting very quickly, but I still think Toulouse will win and maybe nick kind of a late bonus point at the end. But I think Cardiff will provide a bit of competition here. Johan van Grans, Bath Rugby, I'm going to say it because he's going to be there next season, against Leinster Rugby. Only one way here, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, Bath are a shambles at the moment, aren't they, as a club? And Leinster, after such a break, to put up that sort of a performance against Montpellier, albeit he has to be qualified a bit. I think Bath have nothing really to play for in this game, and Leinster have a big, still probably chip on their shoulders, so they'll be going all out for 5 points, won't they?
Exactly. I think weather conditions as well. Bath on that recreational ground, sometimes can be a little bit soft on the surface. It's been unseasonably dry for the last week and a half, so I think we should see dry track conditions in recreational ground, which only can heap more misery on Bath, to be honest, just given Leinster's line speed. And I don't want to discredit Leinster's performance. 89 points against any team is a superb achievement. I thought they were just at different levels yesterday. And I think we're going to see that again. Bath will provide a little bit more of a stiff competition, I would think. But again, they had an away loss again, a heavy loss again to La Rochelle in round 3. Again, they have an outside chance, but I don't see it. I think Leinster Rugby, for me, bonus point secured probably in the third quarter there. Leicester Tigers against Bordeaux Vaglis. I think this is a fascinating one here, Aline, just really depending on what team Bordeaux Vaglis actually put out.
Yeah, I mean, they pretty much hammered Scarlets in the last round, and they have a really good pack, a really underrated pack actually. So it's going to be fascinating, just the pack battle alone, and yeah, I mean, they will put it up to Leicester for sure for the entire game. I think I know I can't see Leicester coming away like with a 5-try bonus point win.
Exactly. I think it's a very kind of evenly poised one. I mean, Bordeaux currently have 8 points. They're currently 5th in Pool B. Now, looking down through it, the only real threat that they have of being deposed is if Cass got an unlikely win against Harlequins. I mean, their team selection, I think, is probably bordering on giving some squad players fringe time, but I saw them against Scarlets yesterday, the extended highlights, and they looked very impressive. An awful lot of good interplay. Their pack are just huge. They're physically a very abrasive pack. So I think you're going to see an awful lot of pack intensity here. I would still go for Leicester Tigers, but I think Bordeaux Vaglis are good enough for a loser bonus point for sure. So I think I will give Leicester Tigers the nod here. It'll be a tight encounter. Scarlets face Bristol Bears, who travel across the Severn. Who are we fancying in there, Liam?
Well, yeah, I saw a bit of that Bears stat game, and they really can play some incredibly expensive rugby when they're on the front foot, the Bears. Scarlets, it's just a tough season for them all round. So I think the Bears we will get the 4-try bonus in this scenario.
Yeah, I mean, my hope is that Scarlets come out and produce a performance. I think their squad is well capable of producing a good attacking performance. We saw little glimpses of it against Bordeaux Vaglis, but again, there was too many unforced errors yesterday, particularly against Bordeaux. So they're really going to have to tighten up on all aspects of the game. Now, we've said about Bristol Bears, when they're brilliant, they're world class. But if they're not, they can be very, very mediocre. So, but again, I think the magnitude of the game is huge for Bristol Bears. If they get a bonus point win here, that puts them on 17 points. If you take Munster's fixture against Wasps, which could be a bit of a dogfight here, not out of the possibility that Bristol overtake Munster into that third spot as well. So I think Scarlets, hopefully for Welsh Rugby, particularly the regions, that to produce a bit of a performance, but I can only see Bristol Bears probably winning here because they have the more onus and as you say yourself, Bristol Bears do like to kind of create the expansive style, but same with Scarlets as well. So this could be one of those shocks that we're not expecting Scarlets to do anything, but it's that game plan from Bristol Bears. How expensive are they going to be? Because no better team than Scarlets to an open, unstructured game to really punish a team. So we'll give a hesitant bet to Bristol Bears, but that could be a very high-scoring game. Then we have, this is a juicy one, Glasgow Warriors against La Rochelle, with huge ramifications, I think, for both sides here on the result.
Yeah, I think Warriors, they're well capable of getting a result actually against La Rochelle in Scotstoun, and they kind of gave up a lot of points there in the last round, didn't they? They kind of collapsed, really, is the only way in saying it. But I still think they have it in them for a big performance this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, it was very evenly contested between themselves, and we said it last week, they're almost perennial European rivals between Exeter Chiefs and Glasgow Warriors. No love really lost between those two given their recent fixtures in Europe, but particularly from, let's say, minute 50 on, it was an absolute horror show from Glasgow. Pack platform completely disintegrated. Exeter got completely on top. 30 plus points later, they're looking at a big hiding. And we kind of said about Connacht having to mentally regroup. I think it's going to be the same for Glasgow Warriors here. Where do you put the video analysis on that last 30 minutes? You have to kind of build up the confidence somehow with the group here. La Rochelle coming in, fresh off that win against Bat. It was fairly regulation, routine stuff from them with the bonus points. So La Rochelle, we're probably going to be in a little bit of conflict here, Liam, but I think for me, Glasgow have it all to do here, particularly from an attacking side of the ball, because La Rochelle definitely, for me, are fairly well primed for a long extended stay in Europe. They need a result and preferably a bonus point try win. For me, I think it's La Rochelle and Glasgow are the way things are panning out, if Northampton, Bat and Ospreys are gone, Montpellier don't get a result against Exeter Chiefs, who we're going to talk about next, it means that Glasgow are still in there. The points difference massive between themselves and Montpellier. So I think for me, it is an away win for La Rochelle. And then we get to Sunday. And I think it's a defining day for Connacht Rugby here, to get into the last 16 of the European Rugby Champions Cup would be a marvellous achievement for the squad. Having to travel to Paris against Stade Francais, a team that they did easily account for in the sports grounds. But again, as we know, Liam, full well, these French teams are a different specimen altogether once they're in home confines. How do you feel this game will go?
Yeah, they could put out their whole, I suppose, U team and underage team stat and still be highly competitive and still win the game, But you just feel this is Connacht's time, and it could go to as, they were shocked and they would be so downhearted from losing the last day. But also that could be highly motivational. They could really kick on and come away with a try bonus point victory. I certainly can see Connacht actually winning this game and qualifying for the knockout stages.
I think this game is going to be decided by composure and game management for Connacht Rugby. They can't go overcommit too early on this. They really need to set the platform in the pack for me. They can't really rush this game in terms of really looking to, how am I going to describe this? Well, just to literally not force things, not be too over anxious. Continue to trust their process and their systems, because that could be the natural reaction after an 18-point reversal against Exeter or Leicester Tigers at the weekend, is to not really kind of think, hopefully there's been a good video review analysis of what's gone on. And I would hope, as you say, Liam, there's plenty of motivation within that group to prove people wrong in terms of, and in fairness, Leicester Tigers are an outstanding side. Gallagher Premiership, they're top of the table. So there's no disgrace in terms of like losing 29-28. I mean, it does show Steve Borwick's reaction after that game was just one of immense relief that they knew they were in one hell of a battle. So, I mean, Connacht can take massive confidence from it. I mean, the last play of the game, is kind of deciding the game. But again, I think from a Connacht perspective, just, we need Jack Carty, we need Kieran Marion to control things, continue to trust the process, the attacking lines. They're going to get opportunities against Stade Francais. They do give you try scoring opportunities. It's just the defensive side of things, and the set piece has to be tight. I'm going to go Connacht win. I don't think there's a bonus point there. All we need is 4 points here. Just get to the next round. Don't leave this until the last few fixtures to decide your fate. Just literally play solid. We're now in knockout rugby terms for Connacht Rugby, and I hope they do deliver and turn up with a performance. And against that, or that dangerous outfit where they may have literally a first team, second team squad selection that can work one or two ways, that they can just literally play an outstanding game because there's no pressure on them. Or if Connacht can press a little bit early, the doubts, and they'll basically cave in. So hopefully for Connacht, and best of luck to them as well. I think it'd be a magnificent achievement. I'll give them away a win there for sure. Racing 92 against Saints. I think that could be an easy decision here. Liam?
Yeah. I could see Finn Russell having a field day in this game. Yeah. I think they're definitely going to kick on. Like the Saints play a nice brand of rugby. They probably still have too many unenforced errors, and that's probably a reflection of they can't play at such an intensity at this level at the moment. Racing are still, one of the top sides in Europe, and they'll be looking for probably basically like second seed in the pool. So I'd definitely tip Racing.
Yeah, currently they're joint top Ulster on 14 points. So Racing 92 if you get the bonus point, 19 points. It would be really a good kind of game there to basically establish and consolidate. I mean, I think Racing 92 are one of the dark horses for me. Again, hopefully they would get over the line. They've been one of the prominent teams in the last God knows how long. They've been knocking on that European kind of Rugby Championship trophy. So, I mean, Finn Russell there. I'm just thinking of Northampton Saints defensively here, particularly if it gets a little bit open, a bit unstructured. You saw Ulster really destroy them when they had ball in hand, and the quick, incisive passing of Balakoon and Lowry and Nathan Doak and these guys. And then you have like Finn Russell, Kenny Thomas, guys like that. For me, it's only leaning towards one result, and that I think is a Racing 92 bonus point win. We go back to Saturday because we actually forgot Ulster Rugby when we're talking about this with ASM for Clermont Auvergne, and I think, as we said, at the start of the podcast, it's a huge game for Ulster just to 4 from 4, 100% record, and if they could possibly get a kind of a bonus point win here, it would continue to establish themselves as the top seed in Pool A and an extended home run. What are your verdict there on Ulster? Do you think they'll get the win against Clermont?
Yeah. I think they'll get the win. I'm not sure they'll get the bonus point win. But yeah, definitely. I mean, it's a massive opportunity for them to go, as you say, almost. I think almost into as a clear path into the semi-finals. So they will. I think they're going to kick on, and I think it'll be a comfortable win in the end.
Yeah, I think so too. Again, I think very much like Connacht, just don't be too over anxious early. Trust the process, trust your systems in place. I'll watch a good chunk of that ASM, Claremont or Verne Sale Sharks, just for curiosity's sake. I thought Sale Sharks were very unlucky not to win that match. They did fluff a few try-scoring opportunities, particularly Tom Curry at the line. There was a double movement. That could have been a key decisive score. Claremont or Verne are not the team of the last decade. Let's be brutally honest. I think there's Fritz is there, an absolute magnificent service rugby club. There is flashes of brilliance, as we said last week in this podcast, but there is also an awful lot of vulnerability, particularly in that back line. One of Sale's tries did come from a very good kick from deep and was basically collected by the number 14. It just shows the defensive vulnerabilities here. If you can think of Ulster, Nathan Doak has a great boot, even Burns, even getting inside, a few rubber kicks, literally, and the way Claremont and Burns historically haven't really travelled well, particularly when it's got the Kingspan. I think might be all set. I'm going to go bonus point home win here for Ulster. I think they need to make a statement here. They need to go 4 from 4, but they need to literally go and say we are a team that are seriously in serious credentials here to win in European Rugby Championship Cup. So I'll give them the nod there. Claremont or Verne, I think for their perspective, they're going to be hanging on for a few results, I think. Otherwise, they're 7th place at the moment. They're precariously placed. But let's see how things go. And then the last two, Sale Sharks against the Ospreys. What are we thinking there, Liam?
Are the Ospreys kind of a bit of a shambles at this point? And Sale, as you said, Sale kind of unlucky in a lot of European games this season. They have that nice brand between the power, the South African power front, and the back line as well. So I give 5 points to Sale Sharks at that stage.
Yeah, I think so too. I'm being a little bit disappointed with the Ospreys, in truth. I mean, when we saw them against Munster Rugby, particularly before the November internationals, I thought this team had turned a corner. Very well structured, well organised, but nothing seems to have gone right here for Toby Booth. Particularly, they've been, now in fairness, Racing 92 are a top quality side. They've also played Sale as well, which they did compete well in the opening round. But I think Sale Sharks have it all to do here in terms of getting the onus is on them to get a bonus point and climb up the table. I think they will. I think they'll get the 5 points here. I think poor old Ospreys here, like Toby Boot, is probably focusing in on the URC a little bit now. It'll be interesting to see what team selection he does provide there. But yeah, Sale Sharks for me all day, unfortunately, because I do rate the Ospreys, a great club, Swansea, Neath, great rugby area as well. And then the final game, it's my team, Montpellier, against the Exeter Chiefs. I'm not going to say who I'm going to, but look, you're the impartial one here, Liam, so who do you think is going to
win? Plus 60, Exeter Chiefs. That says it all.
Yeah, I just hope for Montpellier's sake and tournament organisers' sake that they do front up this week and provide a good quality team out, and I think a club of Montpellier's magnitude, they're definitely not going to lie down after that horrific. No, I mean, I can see the calculated risk, but the fact of the matter is it's backfired enormously. So now it's a case of having to put some frontliners in. And against Exeter Chiefs, they have had a bit of a history between each other in recent European seasons. So no love lost there either. So Exeter Chiefs will come with confidence after that Glasgow win. For me, I think it's probably going to be an away win for Exeter, but I think this is going to be tight. I think Montpellier will definitely respond. And I'm just a little bit worried for Glasgow, thinking about this a little bit more. Just in terms of that La Rochelle game, it's the worst team you could possibly play for Glasgow, coming in, needing a result to kind of consolidate your top 8 spot. Montpellier could come and easily produce a loser bonus point or a bonus point try in a high scoring game in Exeter and get through as well. So for me, it is going to be Exeter, loser bonus point Montpellier, and we're going to just see how things go from there. So that's kind of our predictions. Let's have the crystal ball out next week, I think, Liam, and see how did we do with the betting slips, which is good. But thanks for that anyway.
And Munster Wasps. We call that?
Yeah, because we didn't even mention it last week, did we? We were kind of literally scripting 18-15. We didn't actually call it, so I suppose call it there, Liam, in terms of Munster Wasps.
In terms of Munster Wasps, okay. I mean, going on form, I can't see Munster getting anywhere near the 4-try bonus point win. I think we'll get a few tries. I think Wasps will come away with a losing bonus point. So Munster by 5-6 points to win.
Yeah,
I think it's a real dangerous fixture. It could also be, of course, the opposite way and a Wasps win. But that's what I'll go with. Yeah.
I think with Munster, is the pressure off a little bit this week. You know, they've already kind of secured qualification somehow. You know, and what we'd hope to see here is a little bit more of an attacking intent. Hopefully, the weather conditions in Thomond Park lend itself to it. But again, I don't see them caught in terms of top four for sure. So I would hope to see a bit more of a better attacking cohesive game plan from Munster. You know, again, Crowley's going to get more continued game time, I would say, at 10. And again, himself and Murray, have they ever played with each other in a Munster setup? I think, you know, that cohesion as well will improve in this game as well. I mean, I think we do stack up nicely with Wasps, particularly from a pack perspective. But yeah, Wasps do have a bit of motivation coming in here. But I would hope Munster, you know, definitely kind of, you know, take off the shackles a little bit, play a little more expansive, you know, a bit more creative. I think the Thomond Park faithful would like to see that. Yeah, but for me anyway, you know, like we have the X factor and likes of Ty Byrne, Peter O'Mahony, guys like that. They'll be able to nullify a few of the Wasps' back row threats. Going to be a good game though. I mean, I think the results on Saturday, particularly with Wasps, really did make this fixture very spicy. I'm really looking forward to it, Liam. For me, I think 6 point. Yeah, I definitely see Wasps getting something from the game. You know, historically, Wasps are a team that will not fear Munster one bit. You know, and they will come with a game plan, and they'll look to get a result in Thomond Park. So it's really up to Munster to produce a better performance than what we've seen. But I think case study has to be put into context. I think this is the game where we really need to evaluate Munster in terms of attacking game plan, because Wasps do like to play a little bit expansive as well when they get the platform. So I would expect Munster to create line breaks here. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very good. Liam, I suppose before we adjourn, we'll go back to Munster Rugby a little bit in terms of contract renewals again. You know, significant news in terms of RG Schneiman, Simon Zebo, 2-year contracts. What's your viewpoint on a few of these signings? I suppose it's good news anyway in terms of players committing long-term futures with the club.
Yeah, absolutely. I suppose in terms of Sneeman, like, you could say, how could he possibly leave, having, you know, if Munster offer you a contract in good faith after 2 years of non-existent playing. Yeah, I also, I mean, you could view it like that. Who else would have taken a punt on Sneeman next season? So I don't think there was a huge amount of contracts available to him. But in terms of, I think he's the kind of guy, he's the kind of player that you need to win competitions.
Oh, completely.
So if we can do something like Marcel Coetzee, who was also out for the best part of 2 seasons, if we remember, for Ulster, and he came storming back, and he had 2 seasons where he was like the best 8 in the competition and our domestic competition. So it can certainly turn around and work out well for us. He is an immense world-class player, simple as that. So I personally am delighted that we've taken the chance on backing him for another 2 years. In terms of Zebo, it's probably unusual that he got a 2-year deal. I mean, at this stage of his career, we've yet to he came back this season, got a really good try in his first game back, and hasn't really been seen since. So that there has to be questions abound around that. But, like, you know, he is our top record try scorer So he has shown X factor in the past. Hopefully he'll bring it again.
Exactly. No, I completely agree with you. I think RG Schneiman is. I think I'm just thinking about Axel Foley. The way Tyler Bledendell. The injury issues there, and you don't desert a guy. Injury issues like that. That was kind of my feeling in terms of RG Schneiman, that Munster were going to offer him the contract. Because I think there has been a return of faith here from RG Schneiman. I feel that he has unfinished business, particularly with Munster Rugby. And as you've hit nail on head here, Liam, April 15th on, that's your business end season. And you need top guys like RG Schneiman to come in. Can you imagine him second row? Ty Byrne, Peter O'Mahony, Gavin Coombs. Physicality is what's going to win you these games, particularly packed platform business end of the season. If you have someone potentially like that into next season and the following season, I think can only bode well. And please God, RG can get his fitness nightmare injury issues out of the way, that we can see the full potential. We could see it, in terms of the Stormers game in Thomond Park when he came in. He's just an absolute man mountain. His ball making ability is absolutely incredible. So I think, it's a great move for both the player and the club. And also for a guy like RG Schneiman to be in a facility, it can only help the likes of Finian Mitchell. It can only help Tom Hearn, up and coming guys. And I don't know if this is an outlandish comment here. Thinking more about Jack O'Donoghue, a very versatile back row. Is there maybe a potential suggestion here that Jack O'Donoghue is versatile enough to maybe slot into a second row position, because he certainly has the physicality here as well. That we're kind of looking at our squad. That I'm looking at John Hodden, I'm looking at Alex Cadell, I'm looking at back row options here. That we need to kind of think a little bit outside the box. But I think in terms of, that's another debate for another podcast. Just throwing it in there. People will be talking about that for ages. But
yeah, well, I mean, we could talk about that. Yeah, I mean, obviously we also have Tom Hearn and Owen O'Connor as well.
Yeah, exactly.
And to be honest, I don't think Finian Witchery has ever really, to my mind, kicked on at second row. So there is a slot open there, as you said, for potentially Jack O'Donoghue. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, you're just because I haven't mentioned Jason Jenkins. To me, he's been an absolute disappointment. And this is the key decision here. It's when are we going to see them on a training paddock? It just seems to be endless injuries and issues here. And he wasn't as if he didn't come here without that kind of record as well. And just thinking that recruitment as well was just a little bit, haphazard a little bit. But kind of going to your point, Schneiman, great move. Zebo, I think he's there experience-wise to really kind of bring on the next generation of Munster wingers here. It's good to have a guy like Zebo there, record try scorer, give the tricks of the trade. I still think he has a massive part to play. Granted, the sending off against Ulster, he wasn't suspended or disciplinary action kind of reversed the decision. But I think from a Zebo perspective, particularly when we get to these two-legged playoffs, I think it's going to be quite novel in terms of how this is going to be approached. You definitely need experience, and you just don't know what Six Nations tour and stuff like that. Players are going to go injured, and for Munster, you need experience, particularly at the business end, particularly on the last 16. And potentially, I've kind of predicted that we're probably going to play Exeter Chiefs in a two-legged affair. You definitely need someone with the experience of Simon Zebo who can fulfil all three back three positions at ease. So I think for me, maybe kind of a raised eyebrow at the start, but I can see the upside. I can see why you've committed long term with him. And I think we've had a few others like Dermot Barron, guys like that, Scott Buckley. There's been various other guys that have signed on, which is great. I mean, it does show that players are kind of committed to the cause, committed to the franchise. We can only bode well, and I think the next important business is probably lining up there. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, is it just a thing that he signed probably a national contract and it's going to be announced sometime in the Six Nations? Do you reckon?
I think now what we haven't heard is Damien Delende. We haven't heard from our John Ryan, one of my favourite players within the Munster rugby squad. And again, the rumours persist about Ryan moving to England, potentially to Saracens. Delende potentially moving either to England or to Japan to look to Japanese league. I think you're going to hear those announcements probably coming within the next 3 to 4 weeks. And I think a head coaching role probably needs to get announced within them as well to really set expectations within the Munster fan base, the supporters, season ticket holders, and everyone else connected to the club where the club is going. So I think we're going to see other announcements. I think these player announcements are great. We've seen it with Connacht, we've seen it with Ulster, we've seen it with Leinster as well to a certain degree. But you're definitely going to see stuff, particularly mid-February.
Can I also just say, Mark, in regarding Ron O'Gara and he's very entertaining column in the Examiner. He kind of dissed us a bit in the sense of there's no problem in saying we have to play a Bach type of rugby. But in terms of Scott Robertson, he suggested Scott Robertson wouldn't come near Munster because of the style of play. It's just, we have the players. It's just a question of another coach. Like Scott Robertson could easily come in and transform the attitude and the playing style. So that's, that it would be like a blank canvas if he came in, put it that way.
Oh, I'll tell you what, I'll mention one. Was it Rob Penny, head coach? He came in to revolutionise the way Munster played, and we saw an absolute mishmash of, you could see what Penny wanted to produce. I'm thinking that's kind of that same sort of, what are our strengths? What is the focal point of Munster rugby typically is a packed platform. To read then kind of, and you'll see it in the best teams, particularly business end. It's packed platform now. It's your front five really executing to the high standards in set piece and in close contact, creating lines and creating space for backlines. This kind of, revolutionized thing. But you have to kind of know what your strengths are and then supplement them with other kind of key facets where a head coach like a Scott Robertson or comes in, or someone from New Zealand or something like that. I did read the column. It's easy to kind of, given the CAS games, they've just been turgid affairs from start to finish. But again, it's going to be very interesting to see who the candidates have been. I wonder if we will ever find out who's been interviewed on Zoom calls or Skype calls, to find out what's your 3-year plan, 5-year plan, what's your kind of rugby ethos, stuff like that, because I'd like us to go a little bit, the packed platform for me is everything, front five. And, definitely in the business end, we've been found wanting. Definitely when we get to the business end, particularly from a front five perspective, we're just not big enough. We're not powerful enough, physical enough. It's, and it's kind of a mainstay and good, solid game management. I think the attacking line break, stuff like that will come and flow naturally.
But again, in terms of, definitely in the front five, the lack of real power. But, probably Salanoa probably has that power. And Sneeman probably has that power as well. And, when you're injured for those periods. And
Salanoa committing to a long-term contract with Munster as well. I think that's a huge statement from the club to say, look, we recognise his massive potential at this rugby club. So, and I'd hope to see Salanoa really kick on. Same with Keenan Knox. These are guys now that we really need to start challenging. The loyal Stephen Archers, Dave Kilcoyne, again, does so much for Munster rugby, but we need the competition levels, particularly in those props, the hooker position as well. With Scott Buckley now, Dermot Barron, we just need these guys now to elevate. And, it's the jersey. It's literally, if you're performing in the jersey, you keep retaining on the jersey. It's not a case of reputation over form, which sometimes has been the case for key European games in recent seasons. We really need to start picking on form on certain positions, particularly kind of front five wise, particularly front row. So it'll be very interesting. These guys have upside, huge youth, huge potential. So hopefully, I think this time of year it's kind of speculation central in terms of head coaching jobs and who comes in. But again, the guy that comes in has to realise and has to appreciate what's there before in terms of the solid groundwork, in terms of the pack, the management, all that sort of stuff. And there is massive, as you say, massive potential, particularly in the back line, particularly like Chris Farrell, who stays and retains in, his spot. If we can still retain Delende, that would be marvellous, but probably not the case. So then we're kind of looking at a 12. Fekito being mentioned from Wasps.
We don't really have anyone in the academy, do we? Like a kind of centre is kind of we've produced no one really for the last few years.
So I think Liam definitely after the Welsh game, that's round one of the Six Nations. I think we're going to see some provincial announcements again. I think quite significantly from a Munster Rugby perspective, I would be looking forward and looking to see if there will be a head coaching announcement made towards mid to end of the month of next month. It has to happen. If it drifts into kind of end of March, we don't want this to be a distraction in terms of the selection, having the media to basically feel for head coaching job, head coach Van Gran, Roundtree, guys like that, to question that ahead of a two-legged last 16 affair. So I think that's going to come sooner rather than later.
Yeah, hope so too. Absolutely.
Perfect. Liam, we'll leave it there. Thanks very much anyway, Liam, for the inside contributions today. So, yeah, an exciting round 4. I'd say we'll get the calculators out next week, Liam, and we'll figure out. Yeah, just for everyone's interest, I kind of looked at the predictions. Here are my kind of last 16 draw predictions. You can laugh at them all you want next week. But for me, Ulster Rugby facing Wasps, Racing 92 against Connacht, La Rochelle, Bordeaux, Vaglis. Here's your heavyweight challenge. Leinster Rugby versus Toulouse. And then you have Harlequins versus Glasgow, Leicester Tigers against Clermont Auvergne, Bristol Bears, Sale Sharks, and Munster Rugby playing Exeter Chiefs. So again, that's all conjecture, all speculation, but we'll probably review it next week, Liam, and see where we go from there.
Jeez, if we got that, we'd be delighted for the 4 Irish teams. Real prospects of getting through.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we have to be confident here, and best of luck to all the 4 provinces in round 4, and particularly Connacht as well. Let's hopefully they do the business in Paris, because that would be a magnificent achievement for Andy Fan. I don't think it stops there either. A two-legged novelty of this last 16 would maybe throw up a few shock results here as well. If you can get a good early home leg advantage, that keeps pressure on the team in the second leg. So I think this is going to be a fascinating last 16 draw, so all to play for. Liam, thanks very much again. Have a good week and enjoy the games of the weekend.
Yeah, we'll enjoy it the whole weekend. Okay.
Thank you for listening to this podcast episode. If you liked what you heard in this podcast, why not subscribe to the Hawkeye Sidekick podcast on either Amazon, Spotify, YouTube, or Twitter platforms. You can also follow me at Hawkeye Sidekick on Facebook and Twitter for the latest sporting opinions, articles and reports.